Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of our Homecoming on-demand videos for eUnited Homecoming 2021, Your Eastern Legacy, Giving with Purpose. I am Rebecca Sharuk, Director of Alumni and Family Engagement, and I'm so happy that you've chosen to watch this video. We have a wonderful discussion planned, so I'd like to introduce you to our two panelists for the conversation. We have Mike Ghelardi from Thrivent, he's a financial associate, and Natissa Kultan-Pfautz, our Associate Vice President for Advancement at Eastern University. So without further ado, I'm going to let the two of them take it away. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. It's good to be with you all today in virtual land. Whoever is watching this, hopefully you will find this video informative for your needs. But Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Thrivent?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I really do enjoy talking about legacy planning and planned giving and strategies to help people make their wishes known, if you will. I'm a certified financial planner with Thrivent. Thrivent is a Fortune 500 not-for-profit organization of Christians aimed at helping our clients, our members, and communities be wise with money and live generous lives. I always take it back to the stance of, well, I am a certified financial planner dealing with money, but money goes a lot deeper than that. And the roots that Thrivent has provided me with to help clients and to really shine light on how people can expand generosity pieces is where I try to focus my practice, putting a real intent to money and try to help people live more value-driven lives and linking up their intentions with their actions. So I've been with Thrivent now for going on 10 years, actually. Surprising to say that I got a few extra gray hairs now from when I started back then, a few more years of experience, if you will. So I really do enjoy doing this. As a preface to what we're going to be talking about, I always open it up to people to say, if you are listening out there and questions come up along the way, please reach out to Natissa and myself. Hopefully, obviously, we're not having a conversation with people in virtual land, but the nature of Natissa's job and my job is to connect with people and help along the way.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So Mike, just the first question that I've got for you is, I know we talk about these certain phrases and titles, right? And oftentimes I'm reminded that, gosh, these are sort of industry talk, but it might not necessarily be everyday talk for just people outside of our worlds. So I guess, can we just start at the basic, which is, can you talk about planned giving, sometimes also known as legacy giving, and how would you describe this to someone who didn't know what you were talking about?
Sure. You know, the nuts and bolts are pretty complicated, but from a high level, the mindset is relatively simple, and it's making your intentions known. When your legacy can be thought of as something that's left when you pass away, but built up over years. So what I try to encourage people to do when doing legacy planning or planned giving, it's really a process of making your intentions known to individuals and to put your actions intentionally where you want them to go. You know, over the years, a lot of people, generation to generations, values are lost. Organizations might get left out of wills because people think that legacies or something happen when you die. But realistically, what legacy planning is meant to do and planned giving is meant to do is put some kind of organized fashion to make your intentions known and to expand on those intentions in some kind of methodical way, hopefully with the advice of someone who can point in the right direction and almost do some kind of mental accounting of what you want to happen in your life with your assets, your time, and your talents. Doesn't have to be just money either. It can be an array of different avenues of helping.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. So now that we know a little bit more about planned giving, legacy giving, and sort of what it encompasses, so like essentially wills, bequests, retirement plans, and bequesting those to individuals if they're a part of an estate.
Sure.
How might planned giving essentially be applicable to an individual and or a couple?
Sure. So at the core of my job is financial planning. I'm a certified financial planner, behavioral financial advisor, retirement income certified professional. A large piece of that, obviously, when making your values, your goals known, is to, if it's important to you, identify who you want to help. That legacy that's built up through your life can encompass, well, helping just yourself and your family. It can help yourself, your family, and an organization, a church, a charity, a school, an individual, or some kind of a cause. That piece of generosity, that generosity component, can be, I'll say, exponentially multiplied if you make it known and you put it written and document it in some kind of a plan. You know, I make the analogy of three kinds of giving, if you will. Spontaneous giving, where if you see someone who's hurting on the street, or there's some kind of a disaster, that call to action where you give $5 to the American Red Cross from your phone, or you give your leftovers food that's in your pantry to an organization to help. Then there's intentional giving, where as part of a plan, you might intend to put money in the collection plate. Or when you get that letter from Eastern University saying we're doing a capital campaign to raise some funds, you send in a check for a few $100. A lot of people don't focus on and forget about the plan giving, that strategic giving, which might be a little bit more involved, but could be a significant advancement of what you're actually doing, both personally and when you pass away at the end. Things like charitable gift annuities, it can provide a living benefit to an individual and then a charity at the end. Donor advised funds, which are, you know, directed while you're alive. Bequests of life insurance that happen when you're passed. All these things have tax benefits, but potentially could provide benefit to you from a tax perspective, and then ultimately to your organization at some point in the future. And what we found is that when people at least think about this, it expands. You know, there's nothing that says you have to follow through with it, but if you have an inkling in your mind and you're curious about ways to help others, there's people out there who will probably help you help others, because it's something a lot are passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are some of the common misconceptions, I guess, that people make related to plan giving?
The biggest misconception is that you have to be old or you have to be rich to do it. Neither are true. There are absolute ways that people can help out in small, impactful ways, regardless of how much money you have. I always make the small example that if you're, I guess now over 72 years old, because the laws changed, and you're giving money to charity from your bank account and you have an IRA, you're doing it incorrectly. There's ways that we can help, or that a planner or that an organization can help you figure out tax efficiencies to increase your charitable giving. Specifically, I'm talking now to qualified charitable distributions. But anyone who has an IRA of any size has that option to give money without tax impact to themselves. The misconception is that you have to have millions and millions of dollars and create some kind of large foundation and put your name on the side of a building. The idea that feeding someone in the time of need takes millions of dollars to do is incorrect. Mm-hmm. So I urge people to, if your idea is to help people and live a generous life and to share your gifts and your talents with others, there's probably a way to do it, to think through with somebody that you might be able to expand it and help a few more people with what you're trying to do. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And so, Mike, when you're working with your clients, or when individuals like you in your field, whether it's with Thrivent or other organizations, other companies that do good work, just like Thrivent does, with sort of estate planning, financial planning, as you're working with your clients, who or what organizations do you often hear that they wish to care for as part of their legacy? So I guess that's either organizations and or who do they care? Who do they care to leave as part of their legacy? I assume family is number one, but who else, I guess?
Sure. Family is definitely important to a lot of people. They want to make sure that individuals are taken care of. From a charitable nature, it's typically not individuals thinking, oh, I'm going to leave money to my kids so that they don't have to work ever again. Most of the time, people who have significant assets or even a small amount of assets do want to include a generosity component in the form of, I get very obviously, if you're watching this recording here, Eastern University schools, the endowments that are created for various universities and educational institutions typically are created by some kind of gift or bequest from an individual to an endowment foundation. Obviously, they're managed after that and hopefully can grow. Churches, organizations for kids. I do a lot of work with people who want to leave money to camps that they grew fond of that they were fond of growing up. Really, any qualified 501c3 organization can be the recipient and have some tax implications to your tax return each year. But that doesn't mean it has to be just a 501c3 or a charitable organization. You said helping other families, helping individuals. The big ones that we see typically are educational institutions, churches, religious organizations.
Okay, excellent.
And one of the things I always recommend people do is, if you do have the objective of helping an organization, maybe reach out to the organizations that you want to help and see how they receive money. What's the best way to get them dollars? I make not all organizations are capable and willing to handle large amounts of tradable assets, brokerage accounts, stock. Sometimes they want to go through other avenues and methods. And if you want to help that type of organization, there might be ways to do it through some kind of intermediary.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. So have you seen examples? I mean, obviously we just said a lot of people do like to give money to educational institutions like Eastern. Has Eastern been the beneficiary of some of these transactions or some gifts?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, obviously Eastern as a whole has been around, starting with the seminary almost 100 years. So there's definitely been a legacy of individuals for whom have remembered Eastern and or the seminary in sort of their lasting, their last will and testament, so to speak. And I guess I've had the privilege in the times that in my history at Eastern, just the last couple of years that I've had the privilege of working with individuals more from a philanthropic side, and planned gift has sort of come in the mix in those conversations. So I guess two examples that come to mind for me right now, and I won't share their names just out of privacy,
Sure.
but I can share the reasons and examples of the planned gift vehicles that they chose to utilize. And I know in each of these cases, they had financial advisors, trusted CPAs that they worked with individually, that we were lucky as Eastern to be a beneficiary of. So first example I'll give is of a joint married alumni couple, and both have since passed away at this point. I never had the chance to meet the alumnus, but I had the joy of meeting the alumna. And her wish was to create an endowed scholarship in honor and in memory of her husband. And the wish of that was that she and her husband, who attended Eastern in the late 50s and early 60s, both benefited from scholarships received. And that is what helped them to continue to be at Eastern at that time and to finish. And so she wanted to pass that along to others. And so in this case, at the time of her passing and when her estate settled, Eastern was, for her, she named Eastern as a beneficiary of a retirement plan, specifically an IRA. And so that created an endowed scholarship that students are currently benefiting from now. The second example I'll give is of an alumnus, a gentleman who I've had the privilege to know. He has also since passed away, but for him, he left Eastern just as in his will and bequeathed a percentage of his estate to the university for unrestricted purposes.
Okay.
So which just allowed the university at the time that we received that gift to determine, where, we needed to best utilize that gift.
Sure.
And for him, he always shared with me that Natissa, it wasn't going to be huge. I don't have a lot, but this will be the largest gift that I will make to Eastern, is in my sort of lasting legacy.
Sure.
And so I remember him always being very proud of that fact. And for him, it was about, again, giving back to the school, the education. And for him, it was the fond memories that he had of the years, so many years ago, of his time as a student. So I think those are just two examples. I guess the one thing I will say is other examples of individuals who are living that I've had have had conversations with is most of the time I've noted that Eastern individuals, whether they are alumni or friends, oftentimes will bequeath Eastern in their wills and or retirement plans. So those two examples are the primary vehicles that I've noted. But that's not to say there aren't other vehicles that are utilized based upon, an individual's estate complexities, all of those sorts of things. I do just want to bring up, though, that all those who have told us, have alerted the university that they've named Eastern as part of their estate plans. Those individuals are then added to the Claghorn Heritage Society. And this society, named after George S. Claghorn, who was an alumnus class of 1944 from the seminary, was a former philosophy professor here at the college, as well as dean at then Eastern Baptist College, recognizes those who have graciously made and expressed their commitment by naming Eastern and or the seminary as part of their estate plans.
Good.
And I think for me, I'm just reminded that this is just an honor that they would, remember us as part of their lasting legacy, and that we are essentially, in some ways, just as close as a loved one. And it just helps Eastern build a brighter future for the Eastern community and students for years to come.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I think I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
Before we close here, which is it ever too late or too early to begin putting these plans in place? And then the second part of that is, what would you advise someone to do as either a first step or a next step? And who would you suggest that they have as part of what I'll call their legacy planning team?
Sure. Well, the only time it's too late is when you pass away. And I always say that if you express to somebody what your intentions are, how sure are you that those expressions are going to be honored? So having a team of advisors, kind of disclosing what you want to happen, and then slowly putting some kind of a concrete plan in place, if it really is your true intention to help an organization and to expand on your generosity component of your plan. Trusted CPAs, financial advisors, charitable gift planners. Here at Thrivent, we actually have the Thrivent Charitable and Impact Team, where we have a team of advisors who can and more help fine tune specific plans in the nuts and bolts. But from a high level, myself as a CFP can help. The only time it's too late, again, is when the money's either gone and used up and there is nothing left to give anymore. Hopefully with the good advisors that doesn't happen, or when you pass away. Up until then, if it's on your mind and in your heart to do it, the joy of serving others you can express today. There could be some life event that you're waiting to have happen, a check to come in, a new job or raise or promotion. But as we all know, life happens and things get put off a lot longer sometimes than we think. One of the sad parts, I think, of later in life planning that happens is the regret that some people have to say, I could have done something a little bit differently to help a few more people along the way. So when I talk to younger, able-bodied people who are still, cognitively aware that they want to do something, at least have the conversation with someone who you trust to see if there's something you can do to expand before it is too late and you pass away. And unfortunately, the intentions get kicked to the next generation, if you will, who may not share the same values as you.
Mhm. Excellent. Well, thanks for those good thoughts, Mike. I think, I think as even for speaking for myself and my husband, I know there are some things that are on a to-do list for us that we need to get checked off.
Start checking them off slowly
yep,
but surely.
Exactly. And this being one of those, again, just to make our intentions known and our wishes known. So thanks for sharing, Mike. I know that if obviously if those that are watching have questions, they can reach out to you. Obviously they can reach out to me as it pertains to, as you were mentioning, what are ways that Eastern can receive these types of gifts?
Yep.
Or what are ways in which if we were to leave Eastern or the seminary in our plans, what are some things that we can put in place ahead of time, so that we can know what an individual's intentions are. So that leads me just to say to you all viewing that if you have, by chance, left Eastern in your estate plans and or the seminary in your estate plans, and you're not sure if you've alerted us, I would encourage you to reach out to me. And I know Rebecca will have our faces up there again so that you can perhaps jot down my email address. And so that we can know that you have left Eastern as part of your plans and that we can include you in our Claghorn Heritage Society. And then also, so then that way we know what your wishes are. Understanding that nothing's written in stone, but we want to make sure that we at Eastern are doing our due diligence to honor and steward what you hope to be your legacy as part of Eastern. So Mike, thanks again for your time. And Rebecca, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Natissa. Just want to make sure that everyone can see the contact slide again with Natissa and Mike's information, and thank you both for joining us. We really appreciate it. So if you are watching this during live homecoming, then you can view the full hybrid homecoming schedule at eastern.edu/homecoming. We have a few other on-demand options for you, and also anything that happened online during homecoming is being recorded and will be on YouTube for you to watch at your leisure. And as mentioned, we really appreciate all our Eastern and Palmer alumni, your time, talent, and treasure. So any questions, if you're interested in volunteering, if you want to get more involved, please feel free to email us at alumni@eastern.edu. We would love to hear from you. And thank you again for watching.